There is a phenomenon that has been reported across cultures, across centuries, and across every continent on Earth: the experience of being drawn to a particular stone. Not because it is pretty, not because it catches the light at the right moment, but because some signal below the threshold of ordinary awareness, pulls the hand toward it. Crystal healers call it energy. Geologists call it superstition. Neither answer is satisfying, and neither, it turns out, is scientifically complete. The argument is not that crystals have mystical powers. It is not an endorsement of any particular spiritual tradition. It is simply this: the components of this phenomenon are each individually real. The reported experience is cross-culturally persistent, and we have not yet looked carefully. In science, that combination is a mandate to investigate, not a reason to dismiss. The history of biology is a long record of sensing capacities we called impossible until we found the mechanism. Let us begin with what is established beyond reasonable controversy, because the argument depends on it. Crystals, particularly quartz, tourmaline, and calcite, are piezoelectric materials. Apply mechanical pressure to them, and they generate a measurable electric potential. Subject them to temperature change, and pyroelectric crystals produce a measurable voltage differential. These are not exotic phenomena. Piezoelectric quartz is the mechanism by which your wristwatch keeps time, by which ultrasound imaging generates sound waves, by which cigarette lighters produce a spark without a flint. The electromagnetic behavior of crystalline structures is one of the most practically exploited properties in modern technology. The atomic lattice of a crystal, the precise, repeating geometric arrangement of its atoms, determines its resonant frequency with extraordinary consistency. This is why quartz oscillators are used as frequency standards. A piece of quartz cut to a specific geometry will vibrate at a predictable, stable frequency when stimulated. Different minerals, with different atomic structures and different elemental compositions, produce different electromagnetic signatures. A piece of black tourmaline and a piece of rose quartz are, electromagnetically speaking, different objects. They are not the same thing in different colors. Meanwhile, the human body is also an electromagnetic system. The heart generates the strongest bioelectromagnetic field of any organ, detectable several feet from the body surface, with sensitive magnetocardiography equipment. The brain generates measurable electromagnetic fields through coordinated neural oscillation, the alpha, beta, theta, and gamma waves that EEG has measured since the 1920s. The nervous system itself operates through electrochemical signaling, ion channels, action potentials, and synaptic electrical gradients that collectively constitute a living electromagnetic environment. These are not contested facts. They are the foundations of cardiology, neuroscience, and electrophysiology. The question the scientific community has not seriously asked is, do these two electromagnetic systems, the crystalline and the biological, interact in ways that some nervous systems can detect? It is worth noting that the human body is itself partly piezoelectric. Bone, collagen, and certain connective tissues generate electric potentials under mechanical stress, a property that is believed to play a role in bone remodeling and wound healing. The body is not a passive receiver in an electromagnetic environment. It is an active participant, generating, modulating, and potentially detecting electromagnetic signals as part of its ordinary operation. This suggests something important. If we are looking for a biological mechanism by which a nervous system might detect the electromagnetic signature of a nearby mineral, we do not need to invoke anything exotic. We need only ask whether the body's existing electrochemical sensing apparatus, already sensitive to its own internal electromagnetic environment, might, in some individuals, extend that sensitivity outward with sufficient precision to detect an external crystalline field. The strongest argument for investigating human mineral sensitivity is not theoretical. It is historical. The history of biology is a long record of sensing capacities we declared impossible until we found the mechanism. For most of the 20th century, the idea that animals could navigate using the Earth's magnetic field was considered fringe science. Birds were observed returning to the same nesting sites across thousands of miles of featureless ocean, but the mechanism was unknown, and the phenomenon was treated with skepticism. Today, magnetoreception is one of the best documented sensory modalities in biology. Migratory birds, sea turtles, salmon, honeybees, and numerous other species have been shown to detect and navigate by magnetic fields through a variety of mechanisms, including magnetite crystals embedded in tissue and quantum effects in cryptochrome proteins. The cost of investigating and finding nothing is modest. The cost of not investigating something real is that we simply never know. More directly relevant to the present argument, in 2019, a team led by geophysicist Joseph Kirschvink at the California Institute of Technology published research in the journal eNeuro demonstrating that human brains produce measurable alpha wave suppression in response to rotating magnetic fields, a neural response consistent with genuine magnetoreception. The participants were unaware of the field changes. Their brains responded anyway. The study was careful, controlled, and replicated across participants. It suggested that humans may possess a vestigial magnetic sense that operates entirely below conscious awareness. If human brains can respond measurably to rotating magnetic fields without the person knowing it is happening, the question of whether they might respond to the more localized electromagnetic signature of a piezoelectric mineral is not a leap. It is a small step. Electroreception, the ability to detect weak electric fields in water, was considered a curiosity of sharks and rays until it was found in dozens of species, including the platypus, which uses its bill as an electroreceptive organ to detect the electrical fields of prey hidden in riverbed sediment. The pattern repeats. We dismiss, then we find the mechanism, then we wonder why we were so confident in the dismissal. Not all human nervous systems are equally sensitive. This is not controversial. It is the basis of the entire field of individual differences in sensory processing. Research on interoception, the perception of signals arising within the body, shows that individuals vary enormously in their ability to detect subtle physiological states, heartbeat, gut activity, muscle tension. High interoceptors, people with unusual sensitivity to internal signals, also tend to show heightened sensitivity to external stimuli, stronger emotional responses, and greater accuracy in reading social and environmental cues. This matters for the present argument because it suggests a testable prediction. If human mineral sensitivity exists, it is unlikely to be uniform across all people. It is likely to cluster in individuals with high interoceptive sensitivity and strong autonomic nervous system responsiveness. This is not a weakness in the hypothesis. It is a feature. It explains why the phenomenon is reported by some people and not others, and it gives researchers a principled basis for selecting participants who are most likely to show the effect if it exists. Science rightly demands more than anecdote. But consistency of report across independent observers, cultures, and historical periods is itself a form of data. Weak data, certainly, but not nothing. When a phenomenon is reported in 13th century Chinese mineralogical texts, in the oral traditions of indigenous cultures across North and South America, in the writings of ancient Greek natural philosophers, and in the contemporary experience of millions of people who have never encountered those traditions, the appropriate scientific response is curiosity, not contempt. The specific character of the reported experience is notable. People do not typically describe feeling drawn to a crystal because it is beautiful or because they expect to feel something. They frequently report the experience as surprising, involuntary, and inconsistent. They feel drawn to some stones and not others, even stones of similar appearance. This selectivity is scientifically interesting. A purely psychological explanation, expectation, suggestion, wishful thinking, would predict that people feel drawn to all crystals indiscriminately, or to the ones they have been told are powerful. Selectivity that persists across blind conditions suggests something more specific is happening. None of this constitutes proof. It constitutes motivation to look more carefully. Here is the point at which the argument becomes hardest to dismiss. The study required to test this hypothesis is methodologically straightforward. It does not require new technology. It does not require unusual expertise. It requires only the will to ask the question formally. Participants would be selected on the basis of validated high interoceptive sensitivity, as measured by the standard heartbeat counting task or similar instruments. They would be seated in a controlled environment and presented in blind conditions, with opaque containers, some containing minerals of varying crystalline structure, some containing non-crystalline materials of similar weight and temperature, some empty. Outcome measures would not rely on self-report alone. Continuous physiological monitoring would record heart rate variability, galvanic skin response, respiratory rate, and EEG alpha and theta wave activity throughout. The participant would be asked simply to indicate, for each container, whether they feel any difference in proximity to it, but this subjective report would be secondary to the physiological record. The hypothesis being tested is narrow. Do participants show measurable, consistent physiological responses above chance levels in blind conditions in proximity to specific mineral types? A positive result would not prove that people can consciously feel stones. It would demonstrate that the autonomic nervous system responds differentially to their proximity, which is a significantly more tractable and verifiable claim. Replication across multiple independent laboratories would be required before any conclusion could be drawn. This is standard scientific practice. The point is that the experiment is achievable, affordable, and informative whether the result is positive or negative. A negative result would not be failure. It would be knowledge. A positive result would be one of the most significant findings in sensory neuroscience in decades. The standard objection to this line of inquiry is that it legitimizes pseudoscience, that by taking seriously the possibility of mineral sensitivity, we open the door to crystal healing, to the exploitation of vulnerable people by sellers of expensive stones with claimed therapeutic properties, to a general erosion of scientific standards. This objection mistakes the sociology of science for the method of science. The question of whether crystal healers make overblown commercial claims is entirely separate from the question of whether some human nervous systems show measurable physiological responses to mineral electromagnetic fields. The former is a question about marketing and consumer protection. The latter is a question about sensory biology. Conflating them is not rigorous skepticism. It is intellectual avoidance. Real skepticism is not the refusal to investigate uncomfortable questions. It is the insistence on investigating them carefully, with controlled methods, and accepting whatever the data shows. A negative result, properly conducted, properly replicated, would actually do more to settle the question than 1,000 dismissals. A positive result would demand a revolution in our understanding of human sensory capacity. Either outcome is valuable. The unwillingness to look is not. The history of science is also, let us be honest, a history of the scientific establishment protecting its assumptions. Heliocentrism, continental drift, the germ theory of disease, the bacterial origin of peptic ulcers, each of these was initially dismissed by the scientific consensus as too radical, too counterintuitive, too inconsistent with established frameworks. The researchers who challenged those frameworks did not do so by accepting the consensus. They did so by insisting on looking. Suppose the experiment is conducted and the result is positive. Suppose it is replicated. What follows? First, a significant expansion of our understanding of human sensory range. The nervous system is routinely described in textbooks as having 5 primary senses, with interoception added as a 6th in more recent accounts. Evidence of electromagnetic sensitivity to external mineral fields would constitute a genuine 7th, one that has been operating, unrecognized, throughout human history. Second, important implications for individual differences in nervous system sensitivity. If some people respond measurably to mineral fields and others do not, the dimension along which they differ is scientifically interesting regardless of the practical application. Understanding why some nervous systems are more electromagnetically sensitive than others could illuminate everything from sensory processing disorders to the neurological basis of intuition. Third, a vindication, partially, of a set of human experiences that have been dismissed for decades. The people who report feeling drawn to particular stones are not stupid or credulous. Many of them are describing something that happens to them involuntarily, that surprises them, that does not fit neatly into their own rational frameworks. They deserve a better answer than condescension. And if the result is negative, then we know. We can say, with the authority of controlled evidence rather than assumption, that the phenomenon does not survive blinded physiological measurement. That, too, is a contribution. That, too, is science doing its job. The hand reaches toward the stone. Something, call it intuition, call it sensitivity, call it an ancient sensory capacity that we have not yet had the instruments or the inclination to measure, guides it. For now, we do not know what that something is. But the tools to find out are sitting in our laboratories, waiting to be aimed at the right question. The only thing required is the willingness to ask. Never forget, you matter.